Hey, folks, thanks for joining me for this episode of Embellish Podcast, a podcast focused on product stories, product storytellers, interesting brand ambassadors, and any other tangent that I happen to come up with. Whether you're a bourbon fan, a geek, a casual observer, or someone just floating through this channel, you're sure to waste a few minutes listening to what I have to say, and I hope you find it interesting. If you got here by chance, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button. I can be found on any podcasting platform that exists. And if you can't find me on a platform, send me an email at embellishpod@gmail.com and I'll get that taken care of. I also generally live stream the recording of these episodes. Most of the time, it's on YouTube on Wednesday nights around 9:30. You can find all of my links on Instagram at embellishpod or Twitter with the exact same handle. I have a website. It is www.embellishpod.com. And it is also a place to pick up links, episode details, and one-off tasting notes. Today is December the 27th, 2021, final podcast of the year. And tonight we're going to talk about blinding your friends, which is appropriate considering we just celebrated Christmas. And it's likely you've uttered the line, "You'll shoot your eye out" at some point in time in this holiday. So joining me is Cole and Robbie from the Chill Filtered podcast.
Hey,
these guys are, if you don't know them, you haven't been around here for very long. They are the premier whiskey talk show for second and fifth
there you go
in Western Kentucky. So
great.
Cole and Robbie, thank you guys for joining me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Give you an opportunity if y'all want to, talk about your podcast for a split second, whatever you want to do. The floor is yours for a minute.
Yeah, I'll go first, and then Robbie can finish what I don't
I'll
cover.
Just interrupt you.
No, that's how we do it. Yeah. So we are the number one whiskey talk show in the world. And Chill Filtered has been around for 3.5 years. We have 180 plus episodes. And if you're into a podcast that can talk about the details, but also get distracted at plenty of times along the way, I think you found your podcast in not only Embellish Pod, but also Chill Filtered. So Embellish Pod is very on point and doesn't get distracted like we do, for the record. But if you're looking for two amazing whiskey podcasts that are very different, check us out too, in addition to John's Embellish Pod. So,
also, if you're looking for a podcast that live streams from the Jersey Shore Beach House, Cole's got you covered.
Thanks, Uncle Paul.
Oh man, thanks for having us, John. I'm excited. It's we monthly do YouTube lives with our Patreon members, but we're not on YouTube a lot, so we were kind of setting things up at the beginning, and I realized I had to kind of clean it. Oh, I didn't clean up this area completely. But I'm like, oh man, I gotta pick up. Usually Cole and I will StreamYard, and it's close on my face. And I'm like, man, so it's fun to be on here with you. I appreciate it. So I think
if you get some front lighting here and you keep it dark, you don't know what's happening on the floor here. Right?
Nice.
And I only have to keep this space clean, which is not a communal space.
So as you said that, I looked back on the ground behind me, and I got my my English Lab moose behind me, and he was starting to eat on some of the kids' Christmas candy, so I had to take that away.
Luckily, our dog is downstairs right now. She is taking a nap, which hopefully everyone is heading that direction pretty quick.
What flavor is that dog? What mash bill is that dog?
It is an American Brittany Spaniel.
Oh
man.
We had two, and we're down to one. That happened about a week and a half ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He'd been around for about 15 years. It was
a good life.
That makes it easier, and it still makes it harder, right?
Yeah. It was not a fun time in this household.
Oh, I'm sorry. And you got the girls, and how are the girls doing with it?
We were honest with them and straightforward about everything that was going on. And so there was never any surprise. He'd been in failing health for some time, and we sort of knew what was going to happen. I have a hard time. I keep looking at you guys, but the camera's here, right? And so
that's the problem.
You are over here.
I put my camera in front of the computer screen.
Just so couldn't do it any other way.
Less awkward.
There's a screen here, but it's got the text of what I read, so that way I'm at least close to the camera of what I'm trying to.
See, and that's where it comes up, where you don't go on these digressions. You just script it, man.
You don't go off the script.
Although that being said, you were on. I can't remember what episode it was. It was this summer, wasn't it? Right after.
It was right after Beck was born.
Beck was born. But yeah, so we had a good time. I'm excited for this one because it was just John and I talking, and now Cole's here too. So that's gonna be a good time.
Yeah,
so.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, and if it doesn't go well, then we know that it went well in the summer when it was just me and Robbie. And
no, that's the first time Cole's job might be in jeopardy.
Cole.
Hey,
yeah, exactly.
No, it's fantastic. No, you mentioned that I stay on point, and it's pretty easy to stay on point when there's no one to talk to. Right, so you don't have anybody like, hey, I just thought of this thing. That's what I absolutely enjoy about y'all's is the conversational nature. And for a while, mine was straight scripted, and now just the beginning and end are, and everything in between.
Nice.
Once I started going on YouTube, I pulled the script off because
you do.
Wow,
it it doesn't flow the same. Like if I sit here and read a script while I'm on YouTube,
but like, do you like practice?
Nah, not really. I have notes. I have notes that I run through, and that's about it,
bro.
Seriously.
I'm impressed because, like, I've always said this. Like, if there is a what do you call it? Like a iHeartRadio, or even like one of my favorite podcasts is How Stuff Works, or also like How Stuff Works is where there you got some people that can like very much tangent, and then the NPR side is like business, but also very informative and very interesting. And I would always think yours is more along the very informative, very interesting, as opposed to like, like where we're like, what do you think of No Doubt? Like for the millionth time,
Early work was fantastic. Later work was so.
It kind of went along with Gwen's solo career. It's like, I like it, but I'm not into it. So.
It was a bop. Like I could listen to it.
100%.
That was about it. But I'm also going to quickly forget Hollaback Girl.
Yeah, totally.
Which I think actually was just her. It wasn't even No Doubt at that point.
Yeah, but it flowed with the progression of her career in general. So.
This tangent is bananas. BANANAS. Was that Gwen Stefani that sang that?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, okay.
Hollaback Girl. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Was that Hollaback Girl?
Yeah.
It was.
Okay.
It
like
was.
the breakdown. Okay.
Yeah.
See, and what, Cole, you were like 8 when that came out, maybe?
Oh, baby. I was I was born in 90, so I can't say
that's not too bad.
You're like 12 then.
I had to be at least 13
14?
when that happened. Yeah, when that came out.
Like 2003.
Yeah.
I would say it's like 2003, 2004. I had to be
gotta know now.
Now you gotta know. So, folks, if you've never listened to Chill Filter, you just got a good sample of what it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. No, that's what makes it fantastic. My kids love it. They listen to it every Monday.
That encourages me.
They're super excited about it.
Oh well, they're getting.
And your youngest will be getting a shout out for sure.
You got to give us the older's name.
Every time you mention my name for anything, she's like, "Oh,
you're famous."
She's
like, "It's friggin' Dad, John Hughes."
Right? Yeah. She's
that's
and
great.
Like she's sort of used to do that with John Hughes movies, because it's Christmas time, so we're watching Home Alone and we're watching the things, but that's a different person. She's like, "Well, that guy has your name." I'm like, "That guy doesn't have my name because that guy's dead now."
Yeah,
I have my name.
Yeah, if I had that guy's bank account,
John
I'll
Hughes.
claim it. Yeah.
Correct.
The new John Hughes.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
Like
That's
New Jersey. Yeah.
Yep. So you guys are working through recording enough episodes to weather the January dry January.
Yeah.
How's that going? Yeah. Like that feels like a bunch.
So we're only 40% through the total episode. So we already recorded for this, today's Monday. So we released already Monday's episode, but we've only recorded 2 for the 5 of January thus far.
And
but I think
we're going to release this one. We'll release this one. This is the 3rd, unless we don't make.
We might, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
we'll probably release this as one of them. So I guess technically we've got 3. So we just got to do 2 more.
Yeah, I'm into that.
So I listened to this morning's episode, and I'm sort of with you, Robbie. I think that finished whiskey is the trend of 2021. The finished bourbon, like you guys talked about that in depth. Like it's been around forever. You're right, but the resurgence or the upsurgence or whatever it is of like Starlight and all of their finishes. Totally. And then there's the Good Times Company that is nothing but finished. And, because like Belle Meade, you guys had the honey.
Totally.
They've been doing finishes for 7 or 8 years.
Oh, yeah.
But man, it just like everybody came out with them. And
well, then like you go like Broken Barrel and you go with with the Makers Staves. Series thing, and like but I like it because it's one of those things where it's like, okay, like this helps me to realize what this note's coming from or that note. Like I think I've dialed in my French oak now because of the finishings and stuff. So yeah,
I can get close to French oak, but whenever they're like, we are aging this in, there was one that was a wine that I got Mourvedre. There's a Mourvedre finish from Belle Meade that I have over here. I don't know what Mourvedre tastes like to understand what it should taste like.
Yeah,
like I've never had that.
Is this oaky or is it Mourvedre?
It's red wine. Like I know that. Like I have that general idea, but red wine runs a pretty large gamut of flavors, and
absolutely,
it's
funny.
It's the only way. It feels like one of the only ways to differentiate in the bourbon marketplace because you're restricted with your mash bill and you're restricted with a lot of things that you can't add in. When you start doing these finishes, there's really no restriction at this point. I was watching somebody that was talking about using wet barrels. They'll use wet barrels to do these finishes in, and that basically means there's still some of the residual liquid from that barrel left behind. Now you're just infusing flavor at that point.
What? Yeah, that's definitely not. That's an addition, in my opinion.
What was the rum cask we had where it was like
Basil Hayden's Caribbean
rum.
cask? Yeah.
It was like it was a rum. It wasn't
right.
Did we ever release that episode? No, we did.
Yeah, we did. No, it's you're thinking of
the cider
lost
cask.
one that the Tullamore, Tullamore Dew cider cask. We never released that. I don't know if I can find that. Hopefully.
I think I might be able to. And heck, if we need an extra episode.
There's some podcast archaeology here.
Exactly.
Yeah. I liked on your last episode, John, where you were talking about Sideways and the Pinot Noir and stuff like that. And I can't remember what quote you got from the show from that movie, but I'm like, man, that I never saw Sideways, but you and I are the same age, and like the rise of foodies and just like that whole where we're at now, where it's like we want flavor, we want to experience. Like I can't remember what you said, what quote you used, but I'm like that hit the nail on the head. And you're like, and then because of that, you're like, well, now I got to start drinking Pinot Noirs to figure this flavor out, you know?
Yeah.
So
I love Paul Giamatti to begin with.
He's great.
He's a fantastic actor. But the quote is thin-skinned, temperamental, and in need of constant care and attention.
Yep.
And man, I don't know, because like you're on the bottom end of Gen X, toying with elder millennial, if I remember correctly, Robbie, right?
81. Born 81.
So you are elder millennial at this point, because 80 is sort of the cutoff, is where I land.
Okay.
Man, does that not describe like the bottom end of the millennial generation? Like dense skin, temperamental, and needed. Like this is perfect. This is perfect for the right generation. I had to go pull the where I'd written that one down because I didn't have it on the top of my head. It was just it's a fantastic movie. It had me thinking about food and drink in a very, very different way, and then it just sort of transforms into bourbon because I live in Kentucky. That's easy.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So, let me see. Watch that movie. That had like Sandra Oh in it and Paul Giamatti and
it had the guy that plays Sandman and Lowell Mather in Wings. Do you remember that show, Wings? No, neither one of you guys do.
I remember
Sandman from Spider-Man. The guy that played him.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I couldn't remember.
Chiseled jaw.
Yeah, exactly.
He was like the B-list Gronk.
Yeah, I get you there. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you? So real quick, what are you sipping on there?
Yeah. What are you entry buzzing?
What do you?
It is Remus Repeal Reserve 5.
Nice.
What kind of glass is that?
This is probably one of the best glasses that any human being could possibly own.
Intrigued.
What?
Wait, is that a chill filtered
stemless Glencairn?
Absolutely, the chill filtered.
Oh my goodness!
I love
you
it.
too could have one of these if you decide to become a Patreon of Chill Filtered.
That's true. $10 tier or more.
What do you do? Just visit patreon.com/chillfiltered to get that and sign up?
I think that's what it is. I have it bookmarked, so I don't have to remember it. It's always there, ready for me to go. So that way I am in the know when it comes to all things Chill Filtered.
Oh, John, as far as crossovers go, that was a baller of a move. And did you see what I did my baller on there?
Yeah.
My new favorite Glencairn.
What was that guy's name again?
Corn Bleu.
Corn Bleu.
Mark.
Corn
I think
Bleu.
Mark is his name.
I think Mark is right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how
he makes some good Glencairns. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's one of my new favorites.
I have one. I rarely use mine because I'm really afraid of just breaking it. Like the rest, I can smash just about any other Glencairn in this out. It wouldn't bother me, but that one
is hand blown and
pretty unique.
It really is. Yeah. Shout out to you.
Yep.
So I got to be honest. We entry buzzed together. We recorded an episode just before this, and we did the Michael Peters, as I like to call him, straight rye cask. Is that right, Cole?
No, single barrel 10 year.
Single barrel 10 year. So we are both. That's what we both entry buzzed on.
There,
although I did just as fancy and nice and
J&B, baby.
I got that for Christmas this week from my my father-in-law. So yeah.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. So
no,
I don't have a time limit, but I assume that you gents do, and so I don't want to keep you forever. I'll let this run for 4 hours. I have no concerns about it whatsoever.
You know what? Hey, well, let's run it back all day and night. Like one of us has to leave, the other two hang around, and we just keep it going. Set a world record.
I don't have to go back to work until the 5th of January, so I'm good to go.
Oh, nice.
We can run this multiple days. I assume at some point Cole has to drive back to his home state.
But that's when you guys will talk, and then I'll hop back on. Yeah,
it'll definitely be super popular. I would say.
Yeah. So I'm curious. What you got in mind for today. We got some samples.
Right.
So you guys have a couple samples each. You know, we talked a little.
I'm going to stop you again in true chill filtered fashion. This is how the courier arrives with John Hughes samples, vacuum sealed. And on top of it, the labels are like computer printed.
Legit. Yeah.
It's like,
man,
true...
the printer for that is like $20, and it's
really
this big.
What?
And you can connect to it with your phone, and it is the best thing ever, because I can't write legible to begin with, but then writing legible on the small, like what you guys are doing, I can't. That's not a thing that's possible for me.
Really?
I don't write.
I'm with you. That's why Cole sends all the samples, because Cole is he's the craftsman who.
Speaking of which, John,
software, I type all day long. That's all I do. There's no handwriting happening in my life. Like if I ever have to sign a check, I have to think about what cursive is anymore.
Oh, I hate cursive, man. Did you get your couriered samples today, John?
No, I haven't checked. I have not checked the mail yet today. Which our couriers usually don't show up until late in the afternoon.
Perfect.
Like 4 or 5-ish. So it'll probably be here in a little bit, but it's possible sitting in the courier spot right now.
Yeah. And that's because John Hughes is a Patreon supporter of Chill Filtered, and he gets drink along samples.
Yeah. Now I missed the last 2 drink alongs. One because I just completely spaced on it. I
should have made it more aware. Yeah.
Yeah. No. You made it plenty aware. I just spaced out. Things happen.
Yeah,
I don't know that we do. We're bad of being like, Cole, like, did you do this? Oh crap, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So Cole's usually on top of it. If Cole misses it too, man, we're in trouble because I don't remember nothing. So,
but go on, John. We've interrupted you enough.
Yeah. So we're gonna do a blind today, and we had discussed this beforehand just slightly. And so what may happen is that if you want to go ahead and pour the C0801 GL into a glass, we can let that kind of simmer for a minute.
Yeah, that was my nickname in high school.
Simmer for a minute.
The song of my people.
Oh, Cole, was that it?
Never.
That was it.
Oh wow.
Yep. So these samples, which Robbie guessed, congratulations, based off of context clues, come from the Eves Blind set. And Eves Blind is Marion Eves, who was the former master distiller for Castle and Key. Before that, she was a taster or a blender for Brown-Forman.
Nice.
And now she is working with Sweetens Cove and a handful of other projects.
Nice.
But she has created a subscription service that ran just in 2021. They're not going to be doing it in 2022. They'll pick it back up again in 2023, where you get 2 300 milliliter samples every quarter. And so you don't get anything aside from a piece of glassware, stoneware, whatever you want to call it. It looks like this, cool. And it has proof on it. It has age, and it has a number on it. And so on the back, they've got fantastic branding. This is like this flat black with, mirrored. The boxes marketing was on point for this. Like it 100% got me.
And you're a marketing guy, aren't you? Or no?
No, my MBA had an area in marketing, and so I appreciate it through and through. But anyways, so what she does is she sends these out, and then she has 4 pillars to the tasting. And so I've done tastings for people. That's sort of why I started collecting, was the idea. I was like, oh, I'm going to have people over and we're going to have a tasting. This is what I'm going to do. But then I had kids, and Robbie, you can understand this, and Cole, you'll understand this very, very soon.
Sure.
There is like daily clean, and then there is people are coming over to visit clean. And those are two very, very different things.
Yep.
And I decided I didn't really want to like have a bunch of people over because I have to like deep clean for visitors.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then the pandemic hit, and so I was able to do like a bunch of virtual ones for coworkers and friends and whatnot. It was a great opportunity to share things. And so I kind of look at it. There are two reasons why you would do a blind tasting. One is for education. So you're going to learn something about palate, about flavors, about whatever, or the other reason is for fun. And so usually I do fun tastings because most of the people that I would drink with are not whiskey aficionados to begin with. And so it's more of a themed tasting, like, these are all, what was one of them? I can't remember what I did. Anyways, they're more fun based. It's, it's a guessing game. It's something fun to do. But the first sort of pillar of what Marion tried to do with this particular setup is taste things blind. And so as a part of the kit, you also get a black Glencairn like this. And so the idea is that you pour it straight from the black stoneware into this, and you never notice the color.
Yeah.
And then kind of the through story being the branding of this. You can see on the bottom, there's a logo here. So when you look through it,
cool,
you actually see it. It's pretty nice. And so she sends two of those out with the sampling. And so the two that we have are the last two, the ones from winter. And then she builds out what's called a palate experience. And the palate experience walks you through tasting it. Well, actually, you pour it in the glass, you smell it before you ever swirl anything. And so you get your initial aroma without including any air. Then you do a next round, which is where you incorporate air. Then you taste it, and you taste it with a drop of water. And she gives notes on taste and feel along the way. But you have these samples for 2 or 3 weeks before she posts any of that. The hope is that you get in and you sort of taste things, and you save a little bit. That's why you have 300 milliliters for a single person. And then you come back with the notes that she has. And so this is purely like, this is nerdery at its best.
Yeah.
Like
whiskey nerdery.
Whiskey nerd stuff. And then once she released those tasting notes, she also gives you things about the mash bill. You get the yeast, the barrel recipe. You get how long it was matured, a whole host of very unique things that kind of walk you through it. And so the first one we're going to do, that's kind of the business of it. The first one we're going to run through is sample C0801GL. It is 130.3 proof, and it is roughly 4-ish years old. It has 4+ on here, so it's going to be a blended sample. And I don't have the in-depth notes to tell you what makes this up yet, because we literally just got this about 3 weeks ago. And so I haven't got the final set of notes on it. And when it came in, I was like, this is the one. This is what I want to send to these folks. And then there's sort of a final surprise that once we get through the tasting, I'll kind of let you know. And so I made a statement that you've never tasted these before. It's possible you've tasted these before. So
if we haven't done it on the podcast, I probably haven't, to be honest. Cold my whiskey.
Yeah, I didn't look at your backlog, but it'll become a little more clear. And so I have mine as well. These are the glasses that I use. We talked about this before, Robbie. They're slightly bigger opening than the Glencairns on the top, because Glencairns are a little too constricted for me, and it's got a stem, so it keeps my hand off it from getting warm. So who wants to go first? Who's going to be the?
I can go first.
You're going to be the red shirt. All right.
Yep.
So I'm going to remove you, Robbie. You'll hang out, and we'll run through the first round of notes and tasting notes that we have here. All right.
Ooh. All right.
Hey, whenever we were doing this earlier, could you hear me talking when I was doing the intro?
Yeah, I could. So Robbie might need to mute himself until we bring him back in, or take off his audio.
I don't know how to take off his audio.
He'll have to do it himself.
Yeah,
Robbie,
he's got earbuds in. He can take his earbuds out.
There we go.
We're watching you, Robbie. Take your earbuds out. There you go. All right. So it's all yours. This is all yours. And see, this is the best part about doing blondes, is that I have all the notes, so I can pretend like, because I already know what it's supposed to be.
It's like when I go to therapy and they're like, "Oh, interesting." And I'm like, "Are they gonna like send me to the police now that I've said that these random things about my life?" And they're like,
you would be surprised at the things you got to say to get like committed against your will. It's
I've heard that.
One of my wife's coworkers, she was committed against her will, and she's very open about it. Like we had a lot of fun conversations about it.
Totally.
But yeah, you got to go pretty far.
Oh man. Yeah, I always worry about that. There's this old meme of like this person that's like hopping under lasers and stuff like that in like a picture, and it's like just meeting that right in the middle point of sharing enough with my therapist and then not getting or whatever the word was, like
involuntarily committed.
Involuntarily, yeah. So, okay, I'm glad you mentioned the proof on this one, but I'm not. I mean, like I am and I'm not, because it is a little potent on the alcohol vapors. And
so I mentioned the proof on it because it's literally on the label of what they would. So this is a thing that if you were to be a part of the subscription service, that is a piece of information
that's like already given to you
day one. Period.
Yeah. My first thoughts on this is when I first got a whiff from pouring the bottle, it was really pleasant, candy-like. Which doesn't always happen with you said it was about a 4-year?
It's 4+, so there's a blend here.
Okay, cool. So there might be other things going on. And so I really like the candy-like notes. Makes me think it's a rye on the nose. And I'm getting a little bit of a earthy note, almost like a oh man, there's like a candy as well. I'll get back to the earthy note, but almost like a little bit of a Saint Germain elderflower or whatever, elderberry or whatever that thing is, like a little bit of a Saint Germain note to it. Really nice fruitiness, as well as that candiness I was mentioning. There is a little bit of earthiness, and what I mean by earthiness is potentially a little like dirt grass notes that I'm getting off of this one. Altogether, I think it's a rye when I sniff it. But let's sip this, John.
See, this is the thing that always happens to me is anytime I smell something that is above 125 proof, I'm like, this is rye. Because high proof can give me that same sort of effervescent feeling in my nose that rye does.
Okay. I'm really proud of my Saint Germain note, because that very much continued. That was the dominant characteristics of the palate for me.
Did you say Saint Germain?
Yeah, you know what that is?
Oh, but it's
it is a elderberry or something liqueur. Reminds me of I don't know how old you were when Japanese or Chinese candy like came out with like an elderberry kind of jelly candy. That's the notes I'm getting off of this. And a really cool bottle. I'm sure you're looking at it right now.
Not yet.
But yeah,
I will absolutely have this found. So it's an elderberry liqueur.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that. My mom makes elderberry tincture.
Oh, cool. So you know the elderberry notes. If you've seen that. So it is potent. 100. You said 133.
130.3. Sorry.
Okay, cool. So 130.3. It shows the mouthfeel is aggressive. And I have been drinking all weekend, and it is still a little potent even for me with that. And let me go for another sip. But yeah, like I said, elderberry showed up the most. I'm still going to stand on the rye side. I've never gotten that kind of note from a bourbon. But I do get candy, fruity notes like that typically from ryes. Although I wouldn't be surprised if this was a mixture of a rye and a bourbon, but I would be surprised if there was no rye having to do with this pour. So let me sip again. I like it. This reminds me. So typically some of the other notes I get with rye are like cinnamon, baking spices, hard candy. I'm not getting the first two. I am getting a hard candy, not getting cinnamon or baking spices. But as opposed to a bourbon where you're typically getting a chewy vanilla, caramel, oak, and you get oak on any point, but like the mixture of those three things, not getting that either. So that's why I'm like leaning towards the rye. I do like it a lot, especially for at least a 4-year. But it is bright, it is shimmery, it is not dense. It has a really nice sweetness to it throughout. It is fruity, like that elderberry I was talking about. And the finish is pleasant, and it really wraps out. Like the second sip really takes out that burn, and really rounds it out with the fruitiness I'm getting throughout. Any other notes you want from this? You want to get a rating or something like that, or?
You can feel free to rate it. I'm just interested in what your notes that come off of it are, and then I'll run through the notes that go along with. I have limited notes on this particular bottle from the source, and that's fun. It's sort of an obtuse way of saying it. The source, not necessarily from the Eve's Blind.
I gotcha.
But from the original,
this
distiller of this has some notes on the bottle itself, but I don't have the specific stuff from Marion's point of view yet.
I'm trying to think of anything I would compare this to, maybe to even get an idea of the distillery or source.
And if you want, you can think on that one, and I can bring Robbie in, and you can. When you come back in, we can talk about it a little more.
Okay, sounds good. But otherwise, I like it. This would be, in our rating scale, this would be high 8s, maybe mid to high 8s on my rating scale. I like the proof. I love the fruitiness, and I love the sweetness, and the elderberry notes I've never experienced on a whiskey before. And I'm sure Robbie's going to go a whole nother direction with this, which I love about me and Robbie.
Yeah.
And he's going to bring up notes that I'm going to be like, oh, that was a really good point. But that's all about I got. Can I finish this? Is there any reason I shouldn't finish?
No,
this?
There's no. I mean, no reason you shouldn't finish it. I mean, you got another ounce waiting on you at home, anyways. So,
delish.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna bring Robbie back, and we're gonna have to figure out how to. That'll be how. Yeah. So whenever I remove you, you'll have to pull your headphones off. I mean, you can stay on the stream. Just as long as your headphones are gone, it won't matter.
Okay.
I'm going to pull you off, and
that's an unfair advantage. Oh, boo!
Hey,
either way,
it's fine.
So you'll go first on the next one, and then he'll get it. This will be how we'll do it.
Perfect. Okay, you got it.
He's not going to give you any notes here. All right. So we've gone through Cole's notes. Let's see what Robbie's got to say.
Take them off, Cole. Cool. Take it all off.
Well, this is a different kind of stream now.
Oh yeah,
I'm here for it.
Okay, so here's my fear. I feel like I am so easily influenced. And I feel like that's one thing we do, when you get around people and you're drinking whiskey and you share notes, you go, yeah, okay, I can see that. And you lean one way or the other. And I will say Cole is much more the experienced palate than me. So I am worried that I'm going to be so far off base from where he's at that it's going to expose me of just being Cole's lackey. But you know what? Being Cole's lackey is a good thing to be. So
there are worse things to be, number one. And number two, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that everyone is going to be off base here, including myself. Because I ran through these samples myself earlier this week, and I'll sort of share with you my results on what I came up with and how it has changed to today, which is I'm retasting this again.
So to me, here's my problem. I every once in a while I go through a latex phase, and I get medicinal latex right now off this.
Same.
But I've been getting that off of a lot of things lately, so I don't know if that's necessarily on point here or not. To me, there's a good sweetness. It's not necessarily a bourbony, high corn kind of a thing. It's more weeded for sure. I would say it's probably a bourbon, higher wheat, but there is some rye in the mash bill. And then mouthfeel on this. It's definitely that, was it 130 something proof?
130.3.
Oh yeah. It's so we entry buzzed up before this, so like my palate's ready for a higher proof for sure. This has a nice, it's low viscosity, but a nice burn, like not necessarily burn, but just nice heat on the mouthfeel. I think there's more spiciness. So I'm gonna stick with where I'm at, where it's like it's got a decent amount of rye in it for sure. Are we supposed to guess what this is?
No. There's,
okay.
You can try. You can absolutely give that a shot if you want to. No, we're just
that's not me.
We're just running through tasting notes here.
Okay,
I think so given that yeah, go ahead and guess a bottle because I know what everything.
No, I have no idea. That's not my forte. Right, yeah.
Like me either. And that's the benefit of running a blind is that you get to pretend like you know things. Like, oh yeah, well I know exactly what this tastes like.
I am 100% pretending right now, man. Like I don't know. Like Cole is the guy where it's like he'll be like, oh, this reminds me of whatever we just had, blah blah blah, and we had this 2 years ago. I'm like, oh, dang, good for you, Cole. To me, I'm like, I like this.
No, I'm not good with tasting notes myself. That's not a thing that
I want to say. It's more weeded. It's a muted kind of sweetness. It's more mellow on the sweetness for sure. There's corn there. I get a rye spiciness. It's minty, almost. Kind of reminds me a little bit of just like a Woodford, like a higher proof Woodford, where you get a little bit of that mintiness. That's really pronounced to me. But I mean, I don't know, man.
Okay,
it's yummy. I like it. I mean, this is I would give this, like, we do a rating scale, and I would say this is probably like an 8.6 or 7 to me. Like it's just this. I would drink this every day if it's affordable. I don't know how affordable this is, but if this is affordable, I would drink this every day.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna bring Cole back in, and we'll have some communal discussion. All right. So Cole's back.
Put it back on, Cole.
All right, we're live.
Ooh, okay. I like the proofage on this. My last sip, I'm like, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
Both of you have commented on the mouthfeel of this being great, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the fun part, right? Like I get to be that guy. So Cole says that this is a rye or high rye bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
And Robbie says this is a wheat bourbon.
Really? Oh,
with rye in it. So you guys want to know this now, or do you want
I want you to be like Oprah on us, like check under your seats, and we pull out an envelope that says you're both idiots.
Yeah. Or like Maury or something like that, where it's like, who's the father? And I like get up and start dancing when I'm right or he's right, you know.
So we'll do the big reveal on what Marianne Eaves was actually doing, right?
Okay.
Because it'll help maybe think about this, right? So what Marianne specifically did with the Eaves blind is she hand selected what would be considered craft distilleries across the United States that are not from Kentucky.
Nice.
There is absolutely no Kentucky bourbon in any of this.
Oh, nice.
And so you'll get some unique flavors. You'll get some unique mash bills. And then my assumption is that they did some degree of custom distilling, or not necessarily custom distilling, but custom blending for her. Because if they're doing custom distilling, they would have had to start this process 5 years ago. That's I don't feel like that's the case here. So what you guys just had was Watershed Bourbon.
Okay.
And so Watershed is out of Ohio, Columbus, Ohio.
I could have sworn it was a rye.
Now, the mash bill from Watershed, and I don't have the mash bill on this bottle yet, but the generic mash bill from Watershed Bourbon is corn, wheat, rye, and barley. And
I'm not the father. I'm not the father.
So
you got too loud there.
Oh,
so
man.
He was super concerned that he was like, oh, I'm the lackey here. But at the end of the day, you're exactly right. There's a lot of things that point me in the direction of rye on this as well. If I were to taste it, and I'll tell you, I tasted all of there's 8 of these samples that I've gotten throughout the year, and I individually ranked them to kind of see because what they've actually done is they've made available where I can go and buy the bottles from these samples. Like I go buy them, and they're a little pricey now because they're unique to this, and they have unique labels. They're blacked out labels of the distillery, so it looks like the distillery's label, but it's blacked out with the glossy letters, and it follows through on the branding that they've put together, which is fantastic on it. But I had ranked this one really low initially, and when I came back to it just now, this is fantastic. Like I'm really enjoying it now. Cole, I think you said in the mid 8s on a ranking.
Yeah, mid to high 8s. I would say like 8.6, 8.7.
That's exactly what Robbie said. Robbie had an 8.6
really
on his as well.
Man.
Nice.
Right. So
at
this
least
is
we enjoy it
like
together.
Newlywed game here. Like I feel like I'm hosting the Newlywed game of whiskey blind tasting is what's happening.
Oh man, that's where it goes next. You just got to bring on all these other whiskey YouTubers, podcasters, and be like the Newlywed game. How well do you really? Yeah,
actually, great point.
I'm working on a thing. We'll talk about that offline. So that's sample number 1.
I cannot believe that's wheated bourbon though. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's wheated and rye and spelted and barleyed, right? So that's it's a corn, wheat, rye, barley, spelt, and the percentages are undeclared. So it could be a high rye.
So it's a 5 grain. Wait, did you say corn, wheat, barley,
wheat, rye, barley, and spelt is Watershed's generic mash bill? And my assumption is that that's probably going to hold through because most craft distilleries can't afford to run 7 different mash bills.
Totally. Especially newer distilleries. Yeah.
Can you say the name of that one again one more time?
Watershed.
Yep. Okay. It's out of, and I can give you guys the links to this later on. But it's in Columbus, Ohio. So we're not drinking anything from Kentucky today.
Nice.
Okay.
I mean, you guys already had Kentucky. Y'all had Michter's, which may be Kentucky or it could be Indiana. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
I prefer.
Although Brown Foreman might have been technically, it could have been either Kentucky or Tennessee, even. Yeah.
All right. So sample number 2, N0 401 CS.
Should we pour it out now?
Go ahead.
Yep. So that last pour, in terms of reminds me of the closest one I could think of was the Driftless Glen that we had from Wisconsin.
Because that's the one that you guys sent some samples of out from Courier, if I remember correctly, and I had that. Have that. I don't know if I drank all of it at once or if I saved some back. And now I feel like,
oh man,
really,
I don't want to say too much until Cole's out of here.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep. So we're gonna go first with Robbie on this one. Cole, you're gonna be second. And you're getting removed from the stream.
Good luck.
All right. Yet he doesn't have his headphones off yet.
Okay,
Cole. They're off now.
All right. The nose on this is phenomenal. I get a little bit of stone fruit, little like plum, maybe a sherry finish on it, a small sherry finish on the nose at least. Super sugary, brown sugar, and I want to say like a little bit of oakiness more than the last one we had at least. So I'm like thinking like a 6-year kind of a thing, maybe 6 to 8.
It's 4+ or 4.2 plus, so it's a blend. Sorry, I didn't give you that. Sorry. The proof on this is going to be 126.8.
Okay.
And it is 4.2 plus years. It's slightly older than the one before. But like I said, it is a blend, so there's potential 10-year bourbon in here as well.
Man, yeah. So a lot of stone fruit, like dark stone fruit, kind of grapey almost, plum. This. Oh man. Now here's the thing. So we've done a few ryes lately where, to me, they're bourbons, and I feel like we did Midwinter's Night Dram a couple weeks ago, and this is kind of like that, where I feel like it should be a rye, but it's more of a bourbon. This is very bourbony to me for sure. More bourbon, but it's like it's in a middle ground.
I'm trying to get everything up here. I did not prepare myself appropriately for this.
Not a fan of this. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. That Westland, was it Watershed? Watershed. I would drink that every day. This, I don't know. I'm not as big a fan of it. Definitely stone fruit in it. Brown sugary. Not, and it's got to be some sort of a finish. I don't want to say maybe it's really dry, but it's got a finish, like a wine finish to it. Maybe, gosh, I don't know my wines well enough to say what kind of finish it is. I know sherry butts because they drive me nuts, but that's about all I know.
Don't they drive everybody nuts?
Oh man, sherry butts, she's great. Yeah, I wish I had more to say on this. I would give this. This is like 7.6 to me. I would definitely drink it. It's not bad. It's better than bad. It's okay. But yeah, I don't know too much. Oh man. That's about all I got on this. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I mean, you gave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tasting notes on this.
Okay.
Plus a rating. So you say that's all I got, but
okay, that's where I'm at.
So we were talking about like writing on labels. Like, well, you can't see that, but like this is the chicken scratch that I have. Can you read any of that? Exactly.
Same with me. Like there I am. It's all.
I don't have time to write pretty. We're trying to move here. All right. You got what you want out of it? You think you got what
I think I don't have much else to give to it. I don't know. Okay.
I'm bringing him back. He's going to put his headphones on, then we're going to get rid of you for a second. You have to take your headphones out. Earbuds coming out, and there you go. All right. So I'll give you what I didn't give him to start with. This is 63.4, 4.2 plus years. So we're looking at 126 proof.
Okay, gotcha.
Slightly older than the first one.
Pleasant nose here. What it reminds me of is, at least at this moment, with the nose alone, I'm getting potentially a sherry finish, potentially a port finish. Just notes of like a nice plum on the side of like almost towards a prune. Really rich, dark fruits on the nose. It is very sweet, but in a very different fruity way than the last one. The other one was more of a bright fruits. This is more of a dull, dense fruits. I can't tell you if this is a bourbon or rye. If it is one of the two, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a single malt of the barley variety. And let me smell it again. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this was like some sort of finished single malt, American single malt. And may I know if it's an American product?
Yeah, so everything is in the United States,
but just not Kentucky.
Yeah, everything here is all United States, non-Kentucky.
It reminds me of some wine notes, specifically red wine notes, but not too strong. But that's why I say it might be a sherry finish. Actually, this reminds me a little bit of vermouth, sweet vermouth on the nose. That's a big note I would attribute this to. So let me go in for a sip. Really strong alcohol, but really interesting mouthfeel. Really coats your mouth, makes it you said it was 130-ish. What was it again, this one?
126.8.
Okay, so up there, but it felt stronger than the last one.
Mm-hmm.
But to give it its own unique notes, yeah, it is strong. The mouthfeel is just really sticks to your tongue and cheeks, and you don't get that too often. The notes that I got on the palate, I'm gonna wait until I give all the notes until I take a second sip, but this tastes like an American single malt to me rather than a bourbon or a rye. The big notes I'm getting, if I were a betting man, if I had to put my money down in this kind of bet, I would say, American single malt. I'm not leaning towards rye or bourbon here. And it just has those kind of fruity barley notes, if anything. Let me go for that second sip real quick. But I was getting a little bit of that sherry, those sherry notes, as well as it reminded me, John, have you ever had what is it called? It's a certain type of sweet vermouth, and it's in a red label, or it's in the red cap to it. It's what is it?
Is it the Blackwells? No,
no,
Carpano.
No, it's got a red. It's not a red label. It's a red cap, and it's called what is it? Something recipe or something like that.
Antica Formula.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we had downstairs. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and that's a quality vermouth, in my opinion, and especially sweet vermouth, and that's what I'm leaning towards of the strong notes, which makes me think this is probably a finished whiskey. Let me go in for one more sip. It tastes young. There's a little bit to it that is, but the nice thing is the proof, but the only downside is, it has a little bit of a youthful oak to it. And sometimes I have been a, what do you call it? A victim of mistaking young oak with French oak.
Okay.
Wouldn't be super surprised if French oak was involved here. Whether that be in the form of a wine finish that involved French oak, but I wouldn't be super surprised if French oak made its way into this. I would be let down and would probably drink myself to sleep if it were a bourbon or a rye. But I have a feeling I'm just going to be proven wrong on this one. Like last
You're going to drink yourself to sleep for this?
No,
if this is not an American single malt?
No, but it's sweet. It's got good notes. I think I've mentioned this on our podcast before, is that French oak notes can sometimes be too strong, bringing out too much honey, too much dried fruit, but also a little bit of a bubblegummy in a not good way. Like, I don't know. It's hard to describe French oak.
Yeah.
But
I mean, until Maker's Mark started doing their French oak experiments, nobody was really thinking about it. You only had a handful of places to think about it. And so,
yeah,
it's a growing thing that people starting to understand.
Totally. And my first experience was like in 2016 with Bastille. Yep. And I was like, this is different. And we did a recent episode with that when I was like, okay, this is what I remember. That being said, you could not rock my world if you said this doesn't include French oak at all, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did. I like it. I would give this. Let me talk about the finish a little bit more, actually. Yeah, the big note is youthful. The oak is a little underaged, in my opinion. Unless, like I said, it's the French oak. But then I would say the finish is sweet, not bitter, nothing bad in the, like, there's nothing like saying like this is bad in the finish. It continues on. It's beautiful. But I have a feeling there's French oak involved because of that interesting floral honey sweetness at the end, which I usually am not the biggest fan of. But I think that's all I got.
Okay. We'll bring Robbie back.
Nice.
Oh, you didn't give a score.
Oh, I happily give this a 7.8, 7.9.
Okay. All right. So both of you guys are back.
Nice.
Robbie gave a score of 7.6. So you guys are within 3/10 of each other, 2 to 3.
Fairly compatible.
Yeah.
So I want to read off here, Robbie. I want to read these notes off. Do you remember your notes that you gave? Mostly, no.
Mostly, yeah. I realized I hadn't eaten since breakfast, so I left the room and
No. I'm gonna read off the first handful of notes that Cole threw out. He said, "Sherry, port, or red wine finished.
Nice.
Plum/prune, dark fruits, very sweet." So those are all the exact same notes that Robbie gave as well. Right? Like you guys are like right on top of each other. You mentioned youthful oak. Both of you mentioned a youthful oak. This recurrence of like a red fruit or not a red fruit, a grape or some type of a wine influence. So sadly, this is not an American single malt.
Come on.
Absolutely a bourbon.
Oh,
I didn't say
really?
that.
This is a bourbon that has a mash bill of 80% corn, 20% malted barley.
Okay.
Oh,
It's aged in 15-gallon barrels, and it is Kings County.
Oh. You said just barley and corn, though.
Correct.
No secondary. Yeah.
There's no secondary finish?
No secondary finish?
There's no secondary finish to this.
Did you go secondary finish too, Cole?
Oh,
yeah.
I would have bet on it. Yeah.
Now, my experience with Kings County is that they come across very much more single malty than they do bourbony in their bourbon.
With that mash bill. Mm-hmm.
You know, and the malted barley plays heavy in this.
Mm-hmm.
You get in my opinion, I don't know everything.
Which
80%
I
corn,
remember
which is
from
there's a lot of sweetness in it, you know?
Yeah, from our episode we did on, it was either the straight malt or the straight bourbon or the single barrel bourbon. Mm-hmm. I remember thinking, this is very barley-y.
Okay, so Cole, just to let you know, when you were off, I said, Cole will say, I remember from this episode and that thing, this thing. So you just proved my point. Cole is very much like
say it while you were gone as well. He said it both times, but
nice.
Yeah, that's my experience with Kings County is they're very. Maybe it's the craft, maybe it's the 15-gallon barrels.
Yeah,
maybe it's the fact that it's only corn and malted barley, and 20% is a pretty high volume of malted barley in bourbon. Period. My dog is starting to bark. I apologize for that.
Hey, we love dogs.
Yeah, we're dogs.
She's a loud one. So that's and
that was my nickname in high school.
Loud one or hey dog.
She's a loud one.
That's funny.
Anyway, no, it's not.
So, the distilleries that Marion had focused on for this particular group, this sort of wraps the blind tasting portion of it. She used Journeyman, which is out of Michigan, and that was I tasted all of these bottles in one night, just trying to figure out what was good, what I preferred, what I didn't. And I'll say the Kings County came in third for me.
Nice,
but after today, the Watershed has vaulted above it.
Nice.
Just based off of a second tasting of the things.
Totally.
But Journeyman was probably my number one. And then there's Stumpy Spirits, which does Old Monroe out of Illinois. There's St. Augustine Distillery, 291 Distillery did one.
Colorado
and
Springs.
Oregon Spirit Distillers did one as well. So these are all the groups that she kind of brought together and went and curated stuff from them. And so I don't suspect that there's going to be any changes in what their mash bills were. She just went out and grabbed sort of what she thought was maybe the best thing that they had going on or whatever. I enjoyed this. This was fun for me.
Oh, yeah.
I had all the notes. When you know all the things, it makes life significantly simpler. And I appreciate you guys for joining me, and we can absolutely continue on as long as we want to, but I also want to be cognizant of your time, and I see that you're quickly losing light there, Cole.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Did Robbie, here's my big question. Did Robbie call it a bourbon?
I don't know that he called it. Did you?
How the turntables. Robbie has become the master.
Turntables. Well, the thing is, you guys matched on so many, and that was this is a lot of what Robbie said while he was in his solo mode. Is that you're the tasting person? You're the guy that has all the notes.
I go off Cole.
I think we're.
But you didn't though. Like you gave all the notes yourself.
Yeah.
So this has been seriously the newly drinkers, newlywed game is something.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is like so. Cole has definitely been into this longer than I have. But at the same point, like I think it's a good thing too, because it's when you drink with people, this is what you want. You go, this is what I get. That's what you get. That's what I got. Okay. And like you just talk and like I think there's definitely to a degree of power suggestion.
Totally.
I know on our show too, it's like, I can there's a classic Coleism. I respect that you get that.
Yeah,
which is kind of like I'm not getting it, but I can see where you're going, right? So that's one thing with drinking with folks. So this has been fun, man. This is the first blind I've ever done.
Go ahead, John.
The blinds that I have run, I intentionally, I did a series of them with coworkers, and I would have about 10 or 12 people on a Zoom, because we were during the quarantine pandemic stuff.
Totally.
I would have 10 people, and I would specifically target the people that I knew were not whiskey nerds or whiskey aficionados or really even drank whiskey to answer first. Because at the end of the day, what I found is what I expected to find is their tasting notes were really good because they did not have any preconceived notion of what they should be saying, what the notes are. And sometimes the notes were weird, but you can't taste what you've never tasted. You can't smell what you've never smelled, right? And so Cole gave a note of Saint Germain, which I know absolutely nothing about. Don't know what that is. On the first one, yeah. But then he was like, elderflower.
I can see
liqueur.
that.
And I know exactly what elderflower is, right? But if he'd just left it with Saint Germain, I'd have never known. And then I think Fred Minnick, one of his favorites is marzipan. And how many people know what marzipan is? Cole does, I'm sure. Robbie might as well, but a lot of people don't. But it's about trying to take away being scared of saying what you smell or taste, because it is what you smell or taste. Like, that's your nose's interpretation of whatever's happening. It's going to change from day to day, because I came in liking the first one better than the second one, and I'm leaving today liking the second one better than the first one, and I knew exactly what they were. Like, I know what they are right now. And so blinds are fun, and they're more fun when I don't have to participate in them as a participant, when I can run them, because I get to know all the fun secrets.
I hope. Well, two things that I love about this live video we're doing is that, one, Robbie, it sounds like if anything, we were pretty equal, at least on the second one, but he nailed the bourbon note.
Yep.
And on the first one, he nailed, at least, because what I say, I was like almost positive this is a rye.
Right.
And it was an interesting one, a 5-grain whiskey. But that being said, I was very impressed with Robbie's notes, as well as, like, I hope Robbie was made more confident from this video.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm ready to, you know what? It just unleashed my beast. I'm going to destroy you. I don't care about your opinion anymore.
I really think I mean, like, I don't know what John thinks, and you could say either way, John. But I'm sure even the listeners got an idea of who did better in terms of, like, and not that I'm, like, worried about that. I feel confident in what I tasted.
That's the thing, is I think you guys did equally well through the tasting of this, because your notes, you guys didn't align perfectly. But some places where Cole missed, Robbie picked up, and some places where Robbie missed, Cole picked up. But the reality is that if you tried to score this, if I'd asked, and this is a thing I regret not doing, is asking both of you individually, who do you think is going to pick up more appropriate notes or more similar notes? Can almost guarantee Robbie would have been like, oh no, Cole's going to get all the thing.
And I would have said maybe a little bit me.
Right. Well, I mean, that's because that's the expectation. You've been doing this longer. It is what it is. But
Robbie's a pro.
Yeah, you need to go see
a freaking bala.
You need to get you a master taster job now. You just go, hey, I'm out there.
Ooh, that glass had a good one.
Really did. That's impressive.
It's technically Waterford, but marquee, so it's not as classy Waterford. But
did you breed that glass, or is that your Jersey uncle's?
This is my Jersey uncle's. Yeah,
it's like a Jersey uncle, or just like a Jersey uncle.
No, he's a Jersey uncle, man.
Is he in sanitation?
Oh, John, you've watched Sopranos. Okay, you're with me.
Yes, funny. I watched it while it was being made, because that's my
great. Age. So the second thing I want to say is, Robbie, I hope you were more confident in yourself for this, but also I hope we can do this again.
Oh, this was fun.
Yeah, I would.
My gosh.
I mean,
no, I have. So, hold on.
Bring it on.
So in this notebook that I have here, this is my tasting ideas notebook.
Oh, I love it.
That I have some that are based off education, some that are based off of
fun
themes or whatever.
Cool.
And we'll talk a little bit about this.
Is one of those things latex? Because I'm all about it.
Yeah, well, I'll make sure I'll send you a whiskey that I steeped some nitrile gloves in, so you can get an extra latex flavor. Give you some
all that powder.
Taste.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's great.
Oh man, Cole, your light is gone.
Yeah, it's dark. Which, I mean, it's not too far off of it here either, right? Like, because I'm only an hour behind him, ahead of him.
Well, you see my room. My room is lit.
Lucky. Right, well, the thing about Boise is it's right on the border of Pacific time too, which is nice.
Yeah, we're right on the edge of the Central Time, like, but almost Eastern.
Right.
Oh, so you're like dark at like 3:30.
Yeah.
It gets pretty gloomy this time of year.
Yeah.
Pretty depressing.
Awesome.
Wow.
Well, this was dope.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you guys for joining me.
Sure.
If you'll hang out in the room, I'm going to close out the episode and then I'll bring you back in. We'll chat a little bit.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for joining me tonight or today or whenever you happen to catch this. I hope you found this episode to be entertaining. I absolutely did. If you did, please leave me a review on whatever platform you have to be consuming this on. Leave a comment if possible. Hit me up on social media on Twitter or Instagram using EmbellishPod and give me a follow so you can keep up what's going on. You can see if another one of these happens anytime soon. I can also be found at www.embellishpod.com with all of my links, accounts, contact details, whatever. I'll be back again next week with another new offering for you. And until then, cheers and thanks for hanging out.